Mangwanani Malelepo Fukenjani Kleklas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your portal into Africa's potent stories. Today, we celebrate Africa's growing influence as the United Nations turns 80, reflecting on its role in driving global progress. In West Africa, Ivory Coast's election sees President Ouattara pursue a fourth term, while Cameroon's top court rejects opposition petitions. From Durban, leaders push for African health self-reliance, and in Uganda, Robert Mugabe's nomination energizes Kitagwenda County. Economic news explores lab-grown diamond price crashes and telecom leaders urging Africa to scrap smartphone taxes, as well as our Pan-African video of the week, which will feature deaf comedian Sabino. Watch Africa Good Morning on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, ntvafrica.my.na, and NTV Africa on YouTube. That's Africa with a K. My name is Ashwin Berry. Top stories shortly.
Life is unpredictable, and one needs to be protected against any eventuality. Get Santam legal access from as little as $50 Namibian a month for when you find yourself in need of legal representation due to civil cases, criminal prosecution, and family matters such as divorce, child maintenance, and custody. It also covers labor disputes, disciplinary hearings, and unfair dismissal or retrenchment. With Santam Legal Access, you'll receive free legal advice on almost every legal aspect, whether the specific matter is covered by your policy or not. For true peace of mind and legal protection when you need it most, call us on 061 292 8000. Santam. This is freedom.
As the United Nations marks its 80th anniversary, the milestone arrives with both celebration and reflection. The challenges of a fragmented and unequal world have sharpened the urgency for cooperation, and nowhere is that more evident than in Africa. With a median age of 19 and a rapidly expanding digital economy, the continent holds the key to the UN's next chapter. At UNGA, 80 leaders and innovators emphasized that Africa must not remain on the margins of global finance or decision-making, as its demographic strength and resource wealth make it central to sustainable progress. Initiatives such as UNDP's Timbuktu are empowering African entrepreneurs across fintech, agritech, and climate solutions, showing that the continent is not defined by deficit, but by potential. From renewable energy advances in Nigeria and Rwanda to the African Continental Free Trade Area boosting integration, Africa's trajectory embodies possibility. The UNDP continues to back inclusive governance, climate resilience, and innovation, proof that Africa's leadership is not a future hope, but a present reality shaping global renewal. And we will be getting into Namibia's UN at 80 commemorations after the top stories. Now, Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara, aged 83, is pursuing a fourth term, promising to expand on economic growth that has defined his long rule. The election set for October 25 pits him against two former ministers and Laurent Gbagbo's ex-wife, but key rivals, including Gbagbo himself and Tijane Thiam, were barred from running. Critics describe the contest as a coronation, citing the exclusion of strong opposition. Ouattara's supporters praise stability and infrastructure revival, while opponents accuse him of undermining democracy and deepening inequality. The government highlights achievements such as rebuilt schools, roads, and a 60,000-seat stadium, with promises of private investment to absorb 400,000 graduates yearly. Yet frustration brews in Abidjan's neighborhoods, where citizens complain that jobs and prosperity favor loyalists. Security forces remain on alert after hundreds of arrests through pro-government rallies, and they do project confidence. Ouattara, a former IMF official, seeks to defend his record of growth amid claims of exclusion and fatigue in an election that will test both his legacy and the country's democratic maturity. Cameroon's Constitutional Council has rejected all petitions calling for the annulment of the October 12th presidential election, dismissing opposition claims of ballot stuffing and irregularities. The decision leaves the path clear for official results to be announced on Monday. The ruling follows protests in major cities and tensions fueled by opposition candidate Issa Shiroma Bakari's self-declaration as the winner, a claim dismissed by the camp of 92-year-old President Paul Biya. Shiroma, once Biya's spokesman, alleged victory with 55% of the vote based on partial returns, and accused the court of bias, refusing to submit formal complaints since judges were appointed by Biya himself. The court's rejection of 8 petitions citing lack of evidence or jurisdiction has deepened skepticism about fairness. The Catholic Church has urged the council to reflect the true will of voters amid fears of post-election violence in a country still facing separatist conflict and Boko Haram insurgency. Biya, who has ruled for 43 years, attended only one rally, while his challenger's defiance underscores a growing crisis of legitimacy. At the 2025 Conference on Public Health in Africa in Durban, delegates rallied under the theme Moving Towards Self-Reliance to Achieve Universal Health Coverage and Health Security. Leaders including eThekwini Mayor Cyril Shaba and South Africa's Deputy Health Minister Joel Phaahla called for Africa to transition from dependency to autonomy, championing innovation, digital tools, and local manufacturing of vaccines and diagnostics. The conference emphasized telemedicine, AI-driven healthcare, and community-led solutions as pathways to resilient systems. Shaba described the event as a movement toward a new health order rooted in science, tradition, and inclusivity. Phaahla urged measurable outcomes and equitable financing, rejecting business as usual in favor of health sovereignty powered by Africans themselves. Zambia's Health Minister Elijah Muchima and AU Commissioner Amatuma Amoa reinforced calls for unity, leadership, and domestic investment to strengthen health security. CPHIA 2025 underscored a defining shift. Africa must no longer be a bystander but an architect of global health systems, building resilience through collaboration, innovation, and self-reliance. Robert Mugabe, the National Resistance Movement candidate for Uganda's Kitagwenda County, has been officially nominated by the Independent Electoral Commission ahead of the upcoming general elections. The former interim district chairperson arrived at the commission offices early on Wednesday, where the verification process took longer than anticipated, causing brief tension among supporters waiting outside. Election Administrator Francis Kagoro confirmed Mugabe's nomination at 1 p.m., declaring him the duly nominated candidate. Addressing supporters, Mugabe expressed gratitude for their trust and vowed to focus on improving road infrastructure, creating jobs for youth, and strengthening service deliveries. His supporters celebrated across Kitagwenda, relieved that earlier doubts about his academic credentials had been resolved. Residents described the nomination as a victory for the community, praising Mugabe's commitment to local development. The event marks a crucial step in the district's political landscape as Mugabe's campaign now enters on service delivery and youth empowerment in a region eager for progress and continuity under NRM leadership, they allege. All right, those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. I'm sure there was a little panic from Zimbabweans when I stated Robert Mugabe there, but alas, it is a Robert Mugabe from Uganda. As promised, we are going to be getting into the United Nations at 80 celebrations in Namibia, themed 80 Voices for 80 years, just after the weather. At the United Nations 80th anniversary commemorations in Namibia held under the theme 80 Voices for 80 Years, UN Resident Coordinator Ms. Hopolang Pororo highlighted the organization's pivotal role as a strong and reliable collaborator in Namibia's development journey over the decades. Honorable Salma Ashipala Musavi, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, also delivered remarks emphasizing the need to reform the UN Security Council to better reflect the diversity of the world's communities. The event featured performances by the Oyo Dance Troupe and other artists, including deaf comedian Sabino. Let's first have a look at the two speeches from Hopolang Pororo and Honorable Ashipala Mashavi.
Today, multilateralism is needed more than ever. For Namibia, the United Nations has never been an abstract idea. It has been a partner in the defining moments of the nation's history. Since 1946, Namibia was on the UN agenda. The country's path to independence was shaped by international solidarity and the principles enshrined in the UN Charter. As it is commonly said by Namibian leaders, Namibia was midwifed by the United Nations. Without the UN, Namibia's independence or the end of apartheid would have not unfolded in the same way. Would the country have been able to confront HIV/AIDS or manage COVID-19 without global cooperation? As we have seen in the previous video, Namibian people are wise and still remember. Namibia knows the value of multilateralism, not in theory, but through her history and her own experience. In this sense, Namibia has become a champion for multilateralism in SADC, the African Union, and the United Nations. Namibia has played a leadership role in addressing regional crises. Just in this past week, we celebrated the silver anniversary of Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security, adopted under Namibia's presidency in 2000. And last year, Namibia stood at the forefront of shaping the future, co-facilitating the Pact of the Future alongside Germany. Let us take a moment to acknowledge Namibia's leadership and commitment to multilateralism. Ladies and gentlemen, to fulfill the vision set out in the Pact for the Future, the United Nations must become more agile, responsible, and accountable, ready to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow. In other words, the UN must be better equipped to serve the people whose very lives depend on us, more accountable to taxpayers around the world, and finally, more supportive to the UN staff in their crucial work.
Granted, the UN continues to face challenges. However, we are all agreed that the UN has and continue to make strides. The UN is as strong as the political will of its member states because we are the United Nations. We therefore cannot ignore the fact that the Security Council, which deals with issues of peace and security, needs to be reformed in order to represent the diverse voices of our global community and the unique challenges we all face. In addition, there's a dire need to strengthen multilateralism as we navigate a new wave of trade barriers and emerging protectionist measures. As we celebrate this important milestone and reflect on the achievement, let's also take this moment to plan for future generations. The conversation was started last year when Namibia co-facilitated the Summit of the Future, which culminated in the adoption of the Pact for the Future. Now is the time to continue strengthening this organization and do so by including the seeking solution for future challenges.
All right, a wonderful celebration there by the United Nations. We're going to take a quick break before we return with economic news. In economic news, lab-grown diamonds, once seen as the ethical and affordable alternative to natural stones, are rapidly losing their appeal due to oversupply and collapse in prices. According to World Diamond Council President Farel Zerouki, confidence in synthetic gems has been eroded as production surges in China and India, driving down value. At a mining conference in Luanda, Zerouki said the lab-grown diamond market's decline signals shifting consumer preference back toward natural gems. Since 2018, wholesale prices for 1 and 2 carat lab-grown diamonds have plummeted by as much as 96%, according to analyst Edan Golan. The glut has undermined the perception of lab-grown as luxury items, with experts warning they may soon be viewed merely as fashion accessories rather than competitors to natural diamonds, especially in the bridal market. Zerouki concluded that the lab-grown bubble has burst as synthetic stones lose both rarity and prestige. The natural diamond sector, though recently hit by a slump, may find renewed strength amid the collapse of its artificial counterpart. Moving on. At the Mobile World Congress in Kigali, African telecom operators and government officials renewed their appeal for the removal of taxes on smartphones priced below $100, emphasizing the role of affordability in expanding digital inclusion. The GSMA highlighted that devices priced around $40 could connect 20 million more Africans, while $30 phones could reach an additional 50 million. Currently, taxes and import duties add over 30% to smartphone prices in several countries, deepening the digital divide. The GSMA proposed standardized technical guidelines to help manufacturers produce reliable, low-cost 4G phones meeting key performance criteria. Addressing over 4,000 participants, GSMA Director General Vivek Badrinath described smartphones as essential to jobs and opportunities in the digital economy. South Africa's recent decision to scrap taxes on budget smartphones was cited as a model for others to follow. Rwanda's Minister of ICT and Innovation, Paula Ingabire, shared her country's digital success at MWC Kigali 2025, noting that 4G subscriptions increased tenfold from 500,000 in 2023 to 5 million this year, driven by government reforms as well as strong partnerships. It's time for us to have a look at the economic indicators, and when we return, it's our Pan-African Video of the Week featuring deaf comedian Sabina. This week's Pan-African feature showcases an incredible performance from the UN at 80 celebrations held under the theme 80 Voices for 80 Years. Deaf comedian Sabino, alongside his voice interpreter Ndemofayo Chicken Kahuhwena from Free Your Mind, delivered an insightful and humorous take on inclusivity that captivated audiences and underscored the power of diverse voices in shaping a more inclusive future.
How many languages do you know of where you can shout without making noise? Hi, my name is Sabino, and I am a deaf comedian, and proudly recognized as one of Africa's first deaf comedians. Through music, comedy, and sign language, I bring culture and joy. Deaf people are highly skilled, intelligent, and capable contributors to society. For example, there are many deaf drivers like myself who provide excellent taxi and airport shuttle services. It's the most silent taxi ride you will ever take. Deaf people are the only people who naturally mind their business. We just can't hear it. Being deaf is not easy. One day I had a run-in with city police and Nampo. It was so confusing. Blue and red lights everywhere. I tried to sign. They couldn't understand. They thought I was a rapper, which I am, but that's not the point. When a city police officer issued me a ticket, I tried to ask for clarification using sign language. The officer couldn't understand that I am deaf and continued to speak. All I saw was moving lips and an angry face. My brother, you can't keep driving this car. Can't you hear your brake pads? This car is done. This guy needs a ticket. I'm going to have to give him. What is he saying? They summoned me for a hearing. I didn't bother to show up. What's the point? Many hearing people don't know sign language. So deaf people are often excluded from education, jobs, and even healthcare. It's harder without interpreters or proper support. And that's why creating awareness through deaf comedy and Free Your Mind is so important. My friend here, which is me, is my voice interpreter. He's here to help you hearing folks. But sometimes working with him is no different than working with the blind. It's always a challenge. Can you imagine me and a blind person communicating? We often need an interpreter. But it's no different than communicating with the hearing. To us, you are disabled. If you want to understand deaf experiences, it's worth learning at least a little sign language, so you can understand how the language truly works. But I'll teach you some words. Hello, do it with us. Hello. Hello. How are you? How are you? I am fine. I am fine. Thank you. Thank you. I love you all. I love you all.
Truly incredible. Would also like to end the show by wishing Zambia a happy Independence Day, a happy 61st Independence Day for the wonderful, beautiful people of Zambia. We certainly wish them much more prosperity and success as the years go on. We are grateful to Zambia for many, many things, including Mosiwa Tunya, known as Victoria Falls, the incredible landscapes, the incredible cultures, and personally, my incredible wife. My name is Ashwin Berry. Siraj Lakanaka. See you next week.